And I have read some reviews on this show, and lots of people agree that episode 5 out of these first 5 was the best. I'm thinking it is. Episode 1, I Am a Terrible Spy, that was the Mrs. Plummer mission with the lady in her apartment with the dogs, and she wanted to open her dog clothing store, but she wouldn't get out of bed, and Harriet was spying on her through the dumb waiter. It was kind of an interesting introduction to Harriet and Sport and Janie and Old Golly, but I was very baffled by what seemed to be the underlying message of that episode being, if you want to be a great writer, you have to know everything. And to know everything, you have to see everything. And to see everything, you need to be a spy. And Harriet claims that Old Golly has been telling her this, but even after these first 5 episodes, we still haven't really figured out why. Like, in my opinion, spying on people doesn't seem all that necessary to be a writer. But what I have noticed, though, is that over the course of these first 5 episodes, Harriet has been learning so much about herself and about the world around her and about people in general just by being herself and surviving the daily struggles of life. In episode 2, we had the situation with Harriet versus Marion wearing the same designer coat, and they were fighting over who should wear it, and Marion was thinking that Harriet was being a copycat and all that. And they wanted all the kids in the class to vote over who the coach should really belong to, and Marion Hawthorne tried to bribe everybody with that ice cream party at her house, the make your own banana split party. And of course, there was that scene with Pinky Whitehead binging on the whipped cream, just blowing it all into his mouth like that. Come to think of it, I wonder if that was supposed to be an MLP reference, because in My Little Pony Equestria Girls, Pinkie Pie has a refrigerator full of cans of whipped cream, so I wonder if somebody saw that and thought, hey, maybe this boy named Pinky Whitehead should be obsessed with whipped cream too. I don't know if that's where they were coming from or not, but it's kind of a funny thought. But anyway, at the end of episode 2, Harriet had an opportunity to get revenge on Harriet when she got a hold of one of Marion's love notes, but she was thinking about how badly Marion was treating her and all of her friends, and that made her realize that she shouldn't do anything mean to Marion to get revenge, because then she would be just as mean as Marion, and she didn't want to be a hypocrite. And she didn't have to spy on anybody to learn that lesson, and she made some mistakes in that process. In fact, she made mistakes in every episode. And wow, I think Harriet is going somewhere with this, because we had co-vote, and in episode 3 we had the dancing school conundrum with the elegant traditions that Harriet didn't like, and instead she wanted to get down and get groovy and disrupt the class in every which way possible, which turned out to be a mistake and ended up getting her best friend kicked out along with herself, and that wasn't right. And she learned about thinking of her friends first and not just focusing on what she wanted. And later in episode 4, Hermit the Spy, Harriet wanted to be alone after a bad day and getting things all messed up with her mom. You know, the thing about episode 4 is that right after I analyzed that episode, it was when I went on vacation with my family, and I felt so bad for Harriet because going on a vacation, staying in a beach house with 20 other people that you're related to is not the easiest thing in the world when you're an autistic introvert like me. And there were times when I felt like I really wished I could be alone and record my podcast, but I wasn't able to, which is why I had to skip the month of May and save everything for June, so I could kind of feel Harriet's pain there. But Harriet did learn that when people come together and get along, they can make all kinds of great things happen. They rescued all of Mr. Withers' cats, and Harriet even managed to get Mr. Withers and his brother reunited after being apart for so long. And then finally we had the origin of M, where we saw Harriet's parents make a mistake, but Harriet managed to learn from that too, with her failed attempts to try and fix the problem herself, and then going on that little adventure with Old Golly. So what I'm trying to say here is that at the end of episode 5, Harriet realized that everybody makes mistakes, even grown-ups, but mistakes can sometimes make the best stories. And since Harriet wants to be a writer, that is a very important integral lesson for Harriet to learn, because now she's coming to realize that there are other ways to become a writer besides spying on people. We still don't know why Old Golly was telling Harriet that she has to be a spy to be a writer, but if Harriet can learn from her mistakes and write down the lessons that she learned, she can get lots of ideas for some really epic books. This is not an in-your-face kind of lesson, but it's a very subtle one that I'm just now starting to pick up. And this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to see Harriet kind of slowly and gradually transition away from the spying idea, even though spying is fun for her, but have that be less and less of the main focus, and have this TV show be about Harriet's journey of learning about herself and the world around her and other people, and learning other ways to learn to become a great writer, because that's what she wants to be when she grows up. That's her ultimate goal. And I think we're getting there. We're definitely getting that. And as a writer myself, I really feel like that this show is just for me. Like, if this was a 90s Nick Jr. show, like, there would be some announcers saying, watch Harriet the Spy weekdays at this time and this time central on Nick Jr. just for me. I mean, it wouldn't really be a Nick Jr. show exactly. It'd be more like a Nickelodeon show. I mean, it is a lot more low. I mean, it's designed for a slightly older audience than Franklin, but a slightly younger audience than Doug. Like, it's kind of like a bridge between the two. So I don't know if it would be a Nickelodeon show or a Nick Jr. show. I mean, Rupert was pretty intense, so I guess it could be a Nick Jr. show. So yeah, the writing on this show absolutely outshines the few little flaws that it has, and I'm happy about that. As for a book adaptation, I'm definitely seeing how all these little tidbits from the book are coming together into bigger stories that they're making for television. Because, I mean, they added the dogs, but Mrs. Plummer is definitely in her bed in her apartment in the book. And likewise, the whole debate about whether or not to attend dancing school, that's in the book. And Mr. Withers with his cats in his apartments with the skylight, that's in the book too. And of course, you got the tomato sandwiches and the egg creams. I forgot to check where it mentions egg creams in the book. Let me take a quick look at that before we go. But I'm pretty sure they're in there somewhere because Jimmy Ganley read that book 100 times and he incorporated egg creams into his graphic novel series Amelia Rules, which I'm a huge fan of. And that's another thing! This cartoon version of Harriet reminds me so much of Amelia McBride from Jimmy Ganley's Amelia Rules comics. Probably because of the blonde hair and the red shirt. I mean, they both have that. And Amelia also likes egg creams, just like Harriet does. And Amelia used to live in New York. And she had a best friend named Sunday Jones, which kind of reminds me of Janie. But more than all of that, Amelia has a super cool aunt named Tanner. And Tanner is sort of like a rock star version of Old Golly. Like, you know how Old Golly always quotes these famous authors from historic literature? Well, Amelia's Aunt Tanner is always quoting song lines from rock singers. So there's a lot of similarities between Harriet the Spy and Amelia Rules, which is perfect because, like I said, Jimmy Ganley is a huge Harriet fan. And it'd be really cool to see an Amelia Rules animated series. I doubt if we'll be able to see anything like that anytime soon. Jimmy Ganley actually was given an offer by one of the networks to do an animated series, but the deal fell through because the network didn't think that it could sell enough merchandise or whatever. So that didn't work. And for the time being, it seems like Apple TV's Harriet the Spy is probably the closest thing that we're going to get to an Amelia Rules TV show. I mean, probably the fact that I'm such a big Amelia fan probably helps a lot when it comes to being a big animated Harriet the Spy fan. Although I'm still hoping that we'll get a Judy Moody animated series one of these days. They were talking about doing one. I hope they're still going to do it. I haven't heard anything back from 9 Story Media or Trustbridge Entertainment yet, so we shall see. Alright, the book. What do you got to say about egg creams? Alright, here we go. In chapter 3, right after Harriet went to see Mrs. Plummer, or spy on Mrs. Plummer, rather, it says, Harriet had 3 more stops before she was finished for the day, but before she continued, she decided to stop by and see sports. On the way there, she got thirsty and stopped in her favorite luncheonette for an egg cream. It was her favorite because it was there that she had first begun to hear what peculiar things people say to each other. She liked to sit at the counter with her egg cream and let the voices from the tables behind her float over her head. Several conversations were always going on at once. Sometimes she would play a game and not look at the people she would play a game and not look at the people until, from listening to them, she had decided what they looked like. Then she would turn around and see if she were right. A chocolate egg cream, please. Certainly, Harriet. How are you? Okay. Harriet sat down, pleased that she was known. She put her 12 cents down and sipped away as she listened. Okay, so that must be the lady that, they named Darby, because Harriet sees her regularly. I'm getting pretty thirsty myself. I think I'll go out for an egg cream when I'm done with this. I hear they make some good ones at DJ's Taste of the 50s in Smoketown, Pennsylvania, just outside Lancaster. So I'll go check that out. So anyway, what was I saying before I went on the egg cream thing? Ah, that's right, comparing the Apple TV show to the book. All these elements from the book play important roles in the Apple TV series, but what makes it so interesting is that this is a half-hour TV series with multiple episodes, but they're all based on one book. Because with the first episodes of, like, Little Bear and Franklin, for instance, most of the season 1 episodes were based on individual books, or at least individual chapters of books. Similar to Frog and Toad. Like, Frog and Toad has a whole bunch of books with lots of short stories in each one, and each of those short stories became an animated episode. But this is a novel that this show is based on, and rather than adapting one great big huge story, they use a whole bunch of little details from this book to make lots of new, shorter stories, like half-hour stories. It's really interesting how they saved the thing with Old Golly's mother for the end of this 5-episode set, since it's kind of like, is that the first chapter of the book? I imagine the book fans who watched the Apple TV show for the first time got to episode 5 was like, oh wow, we're finally at chapter 1! And we reached the end of this, sheesh. Out of these first 5, I think the one episode that has the least references to the book is episode 2, Coat Votes. And I just realized something. The second story in the Lil Bear animated series is Hide and Seek, and that one is not based on any of the books either, but they used that episode to introduce viewers to Little Bear's friends, Duck, Hen, Cat, and Owl, which makes me think now maybe Harriet the Spy used the Coats Vote episode to help us get to know the kids at Harriet's school better. Sports, Janie, Marion Hawthorne, Pinky Whitehead, and the boy with the purple socks, along with Beth Ellen Hansen and Carrie Andrews. And we also saw Rachel Hennessy as well. So that was cool that they gave us that little extra introductory episode similar to what they did on Little Bear. That was great. It was also one of my favorite episodes. Episode rankings? From bottom to top, I think you would be Hermit the Spy on the bottom, I'm a Terrible Spy above that, and then Code Vote, Cross My Heart, Hope Not to Dance, and now this one, The Origin of M, on the top. That's where I'm at so far with my favorite episodes.